She won't last 2 weeks in the real military, Staff Sergeant Kowalski muttered as he watched the new recruit wipe down tables with precise, methodical strokes. Too clean, too careful. Probably never seen dirt before today. His companion nodded agreement, while scraping plates into the industrial dishwasher, the kind that thinks military service is some kind of summer camp adventure. Private Elena Vasquez continued her work without acknowledging their commentary, though every word reached her ears clearly in the echoing mess hall. 6 months of enlisted service had taught her to expect such assessments. Her hands moved efficiently across each surface, removing every trace of the morning meal preparation while conversations flowed around her like background static. Before we dive into this story, drop a comment and let us know what state you're watching from. Maybe military families are common in your area. The industrial kitchen hummed with post-breakfast cleanup activity as Fort Carson's enlisted personnel moved through their assigned duties. Steam rose from commercial dishwashers while the morning Colorado sun streamed through high windows, casting long rectangles of light across the polished floor. Elena had requested mess hall duty specifically, knowing the work would be demanding and visible to the entire base population. "Look at those hands," Sergeant First Class Morrison observed from his position near the serving line. Never done real work a day in her life. Bet she's some senator's daughter playing soldier for her college application. He gestured toward Elena's careful attention to detail as she organized cleaning supplies. 2 months, and she'll be crying to Daddy about how mean the drill sergeants are. Elena's jaw tightened imperceptibly, but her movements never slowed. The irony of Morrison's assessment wasn't lost on her, though she couldn't correct his assumptions without revealing exactly what she'd spent 6 months trying to hide. Her father's influence extended throughout every corner of this base, but none of these men knew that the quiet recruit methodically cleaning their workspace carried the bloodline of their commanding officer. "She's too soft for this place," Specialist Chen added while hefting a container of leftover scrambled eggs toward the storage area. "First time someone yells at her, she'll probably run home to Mommy." The others laughed, their voices carrying easily through the open kitchen space where Elena continued her systematic approach to each assigned task. The distinctive sound of polished boots on linoleum announced the arrival of senior staff for their weekly inspection tour. Elena recognized the cadence immediately, her father's measured stride unmistakable even without looking up from her current table. General Marcus Reginald Vasquez moved through the mess hall with the confident bearing of someone who'd commanded respect for over 3 decades, his presence immediately straightening the posture of every enlisted person within sight. Morrison snapped to attention along with the other NCOs as the general's entourage entered their section. "Good morning, sir. Kitchen cleanup proceeding on schedule. All health and safety protocols being maintained according to regulation." The general nodded his acknowledgement while scanning the workspace with practiced eyes. His gaze moved methodically across each station, noting efficiency levels and compliance with military standards. Elena kept her head down, focusing intently on a stubborn stain that required additional attention, while her father's inspection continued mere feet away. "These enlisted personnel understand the importance of maintaining proper standards," General Vasquez remarked to his aide, a young lieutenant who scribbled notes on a tactical clipboard. "Too often we see laziness creeping into basic duties. Soldiers who think showing up is sufficient effort." His voice carried the authority of someone accustomed to immediate compliance with every directive. Elena's cleaning cloth paused for just a moment before resuming its circular motions. 6 months of maintaining her cover had required listening to countless assessments of enlisted capabilities, but hearing such criticism from her father while standing 3 feet away created a unique form of torture. She forced herself to maintain the steady rhythm of her work while processing the familiar disappointment in his tone. The inspection tour moved toward the food preparation areas where morning meal remnants still required attention. Elena could hear her father's continued commentary about work ethic and military discipline, each word a reminder of the impossible standards she'd grown up trying to meet. Staff Sergeant Kowalski seized the opportunity to demonstrate his supervisory capabilities by pointing out various enlisted personnel and their assigned responsibilities. "Private Vasquez, there has been with us for 6 months," Kowalski reported when the general's attention turned toward Elena's section. "Still learning proper military efficiency. Some recruits require additional time to develop appropriate work habits." His tone suggested patience wearing thin with her methodical approach to every task. General Vasquez glanced briefly in Elena's direction, his expression showing mild interest in another anonymous enlisted soldier requiring guidance. "She represents exactly what I mean about today's recruits," he observed. "Probably expects praise for completing basic duties. The real military requires soldiers who exceed minimum standards without supervision or recognition." Elena's knuckles whitened as she gripped the cleaning cloth more tightly, but her face remained carefully neutral. The conversation continued around her while she completed the table cleaning with mechanical precision, each movement designed to avoid drawing additional attention from the inspection party. 26 years of being Marcus Vasquez's daughter had taught her exactly how to become invisible when his expectations felt impossible to meet. The general's entourage moved deeper into the kitchen area, their voices fading as they examined food storage and preparation protocols. Elena straightened slowly, her back aching from the prolonged cleaning posture, and surveyed the spotless tables that surrounded her workspace. Every surface gleamed under the fluorescent lighting, reflecting her commitment to the same standard her father demanded from his officers. "She'll probably request transfer to some cushier assignment within the month," Morrison predicted once the senior staff had moved beyond hearing range. "These privileged kids always do once they realize military service involves actual work." His companions nodded agreement while returning to their cleanup duties with noticeably less intensity than they displayed during the inspection. Elena gathered her cleaning supplies methodically, storing each item in its designated location according to the protocols she'd memorized during her first week. The familiar weight of her father's expectations pressed against her shoulders like an invisible rucksack, heavier than any equipment she'd carried during training exercises. 6 months of proving herself had barely begun to scratch the surface of what she needed to accomplish before revealing her true identity. The afternoon sun beat down mercilessly on the parade grounds where Elena struggled with a 50-pound supply crate that seemed determined to slip from her grip every few steps. Sweat darkened her uniform despite the cool October air, each movement requiring careful balance to prevent the contents from shifting dangerously inside the wooden container. "Watch this," Corporal Davis called to his squad mates while pointing toward Elena's labored progress across the dusty field. "Princess, there's about to drop that crate and probably cry about it." His prediction drew chuckles from the group of soldiers who'd paused their own equipment transport to observe her struggle. Elena adjusted her grip and continued forward, ignoring the commentary that followed her across the training area. 6 months of similar observations had taught her that responding only provided additional ammunition for skeptics who'd already decided she didn't belong among serious military personnel. The crate's weight pressed into her forearms while she navigated around obstacles that seemed strategically placed to test her determination. "Bet you $5," she asked for help before reaching the supply depot. Specialist Rodriguez announced loud enough for Elena to hear clearly. "These college kids always fold when the work gets real." No way she makes it another 100 yards without whining about the weight. The betting pool expanded quickly as other soldiers contributed their assessments of Elena's capabilities and endurance levels. Elena forced herself to maintain steady forward progress while their predictions grew more elaborate and dismissive. Each step became a deliberate act of defiance against expectations that had followed her since arriving at Fort Carson 6 months earlier. Her father's voice echoed from the officer training area, where he conducted afternoon briefings for junior staff. "Real soldiers adapt to challenging conditions without complaint," General Vasquez explained to his audience of lieutenants and captains. "Weakness shows itself quickly under pressure. Those who lack proper military character reveal themselves through their response to basic duties." Elena's grip slipped momentarily, forcing her to stop and readjust the crate's position while maintaining her balance on the uneven ground. The brief pause provided additional entertainment for her observers, who interpreted any difficulty as confirmation of their predictions about her inevitable failure. "Look at that form," Sergeant Martinez observed with professional criticism. "No core strength, no proper technique. Probably never lifted anything heavier than textbooks before enlisting. She's gonna hurt herself trying to prove something she obviously can't handle." The supply depot loomed ahead like a finish line in an endurance race that had stretched far beyond its intended distance. Elena could feel every muscle in her arms and shoulders burning with fatigue, but the knowledge that dozens of eyes tracked her progress provided motivation stronger than any physical discomfort. Failing now would validate every assumption made about her capabilities since day one. Private Thompson jogged past carrying two similar crates with apparent ease, his casual efficiency making Elena's struggle appear even more pronounced. "Natural soldier right there," Davis commented approvingly. "Some people are just built for military service. Others are built for desk jobs and should probably stick to what suits them." Elena reached the depot entrance where Sergeant First Class Williams waited with a clipboard and an expression of mild irritation. "About time, Private. That crate was supposed to be delivered 30 minutes ago. Maybe next time you'll request assistance instead of wasting everyone's time with heroic gestures." The crate landed with a solid thunk on the depot floor, its contents settling with metallic clanking that echoed through the storage area. Elena straightened slowly, her uniform soaked with perspiration despite the cool afternoon temperature. Williams marked something on his clipboard without looking up from the paperwork. "Your next assignment is inventory organization in Section C," Williams continued while pointing toward a maze of supply shelves that stretched deep into the depot's interior. "Everything needs to be cataloged and arranged according to new efficiency protocols. Should keep you busy until evening formation." Elena nodded and moved towards Section C, where hundreds of miscellaneous items waited in chaotic piles that suggested previous organizational attempts had failed spectacularly. Boxes of various sizes mixed with loose equipment, spare parts, and supplies that appeared to have been stored without any systematic approach. The work suited her need for solitude while processing the day's accumulation of criticism and doubt. Elena began sorting items into logical categories, her methodical approach creating order from the overwhelming mess that surrounded her. Each decision required careful consideration of military efficiency protocols her father had drilled into her consciousness since childhood. Hours passed while she transformed the chaotic storage area into a model of systematic organization. The familiar rhythm of productive work helped quiet the voices of skepticism that had followed her throughout the afternoon. Elena found herself humming softly while arranging the final items according to size, frequency of use, and accessibility requirements. "Still here, Private," Williams observed when he returned for his evening inspection tour. "Most soldiers would have given up on this project after the first hour." His tone carried surprise rather than criticism as he surveyed the dramatically improved storage area. The transformation was undeniable. Every item had been cataloged, labeled, and positioned for maximum efficiency according to protocols that exceeded standard military requirements. Elena had created organizational systems that would save countless hours for future supply operations. "This is actually impressive work," Williams admitted while checking his clipboard against the newly organized inventory. "Maybe you're more dedicated than I initially assessed. Still think you're in over your head with military service, but this shows some potential for useful contribution." Elena accepted the backhanded compliment without comment, understanding that earning respect from skeptical NCOs required consistent demonstration rather than verbal defense. Williams continued his inspection, noting improvements that went beyond basic compliance with organizational directives. The evening formation bugle echoed across the base, signaling the end of another day's training and duty assignments. Elena gathered her equipment and prepared to join hundreds of other enlisted personnel for the daily accountability formation. Her uniform bore evidence of the afternoon's physical challenges, but her posture remained straight despite accumulated fatigue. Tomorrow would bring additional opportunities to prove herself worthy of the uniform she wore. Elena had learned that military acceptance required patience, consistency, and unwavering commitment to standards that skeptics assumed she couldn't maintain. Each small victory built foundation for the larger recognition she hoped to earn through merit rather than family connections. The walk back to barracks took her past the officer housing area where her father's quarters stood among neat rows of senior staff residences. Elena allowed herself one brief glance toward the familiar building before continuing toward her assigned enlisted accommodations. 6 months of this careful separation had become routine, though the emotional distance never grew easier to maintain. Her fellow enlisted personnel filed past in groups, their conversations mixing complaints about the day's assignments with plans for evening recreation time. Elena walked alone, as had become her habit, carrying the weight of secrets that made casual friendships dangerous to her mission of proving herself independently. The pre-dawn darkness wrapped around Fort Carson like a heavy blanket as Elena laced her combat boots with practiced efficiency. 4:30 in the morning had become her preferred wake-up time, allowing solitary preparation before the chaos of reveille disrupted the barracks' quiet. Her bunk mates slept soundly while she gathered equipment for another day of proving herself worthy of their grudging acceptance. "She's probably going to fall out during the 5-mile run today," Private Jackson whispered to his rack mate while Elena moved quietly past their bunks. Yesterday's supply depot work probably destroyed whatever stamina she pretends to have. His prediction drew muffled agreement from soldiers who assumed Elena couldn't hear their commentary in the darkness. Elena stepped outside into the crisp October air where stars still dominated the Colorado sky above the distant mountain peaks. The familiar weight of her rucksack settled against her shoulders as she began stretching exercises designed to prepare her body for the physical challenges ahead. 6 months of this routine had transformed her endurance levels beyond anything she'd achieved during civilian fitness activities. The formation area buzzed with early morning energy as hundreds of enlisted personnel assembled for physical training that would test every aspect of their conditioning. Elena took her position among soldiers who still viewed her presence with skepticism despite her consistent performance during previous training sessions. "All right, listen up," Sergeant Major Patterson announced while surveying the assembled troops with eyes that missed nothing. "Today's run includes terrain challenges designed to separate real soldiers from pretenders. Anyone who falls out gets extra duty assignments for the remainder of the week." Elena felt familiar butterflies in her stomach as conversations around her immediately turned to predictions about who would struggle with the demanding course ahead. Her name featured prominently in discussions that assumed her previous day's effort had depleted whatever reserve she possessed for sustained physical activity. $20, says the princess taps out before mile 3. Corporal Stevens declared loud enough for multiple squads to hear his assessment. "These pampered kids never last when the training gets serious. Probably going to fake an injury to avoid admitting she can't hack real military standards." The betting pool expanded rapidly as soldiers contributed increasingly creative predictions about Elena's inevitable failure during the challenging run ahead. Elena focused on her breathing exercises while processing commentary that had become depressingly predictable over the past 6 months of service. "Move out," Patterson commanded, and the formation began flowing toward the trailhead that marked the beginning of their 5-mile circuit through terrain specifically chosen to challenge even experienced soldiers. Elena settled into a steady pace that conserved energy while keeping her positioned within the main group of runners. The trail wound through rolling hills covered with scrub brush and scattered pine trees that cast weird shadows in the early morning light. Elena maintained her breathing rhythm while soldiers around her began showing signs of strain that would only intensify as the course progressed through increasingly difficult terrain. Private Morrison dropped back from the leading group after the second mile, his face showing distress that suggested overconfidence during the initial pace setting. Several other soldiers who'd started strong began struggling with the sustained effort required for the remaining distance. "Check it out," Davis called to his running partner while pointing toward Elena's steady progress. "Princess is actually keeping up, probably saving energy for when she really needs to quit without looking completely pathetic." Elena ignored the commentary and focused on maintaining form that her father had taught her during childhood runs through these same mountain trails. Years of weekend training sessions had prepared her for exactly this type of sustained effort, though none of her current companions could know about that extensive preparation. The course turned upward through a series of switchbacks that tested leg strength and cardiovascular conditioning in ways that quickly separated experienced athletes from casual fitness enthusiasts. Elena's breathing remained controlled while soldiers around her began showing obvious signs of exhaustion. "She's actually pretty strong," Specialist Garcia observed with surprise as Elena passed several soldiers who'd started the run with confident predictions about their own superiority. "Still think she's going to fold when things get really tough, but maybe she's tougher than she looks." Mileford brought them through rocky terrain that required careful foot placement to avoid injuries that could end military careers. Elena navigated the obstacles with sure-footed confidence while maintaining pace that kept her among the top third of finishers. Soldiers who'd bet against her completion began reassessing their predictions. The final mile descended through forest trails toward the base perimeter, where the finish line waited among assembled NCOs who evaluated every aspect of their performance. Elena could see the end point ahead, while soldiers around her pushed through final reserves of energy and determination. "Holy crap!" Stevens gasped between labored breaths as Elena maintained steady pace beside him. "You're actually going to finish strong, aren't you?" His earlier confidence about her inevitable failure had transformed into grudging acknowledgement of capabilities he hadn't expected. Elena crossed the finish line among the first quarter of completing soldiers, her time placing her well ahead of many troops who'd expressed certainty about her physical limitations. Sweat soaked her uniform, but her breathing remained controlled while others collapsed onto nearby benches to recover from their effort. "Not bad, Private," Sergeant Major Patterson commented while checking his stopwatch against Elena's finish time. "Your conditioning is better than initial assessments suggested. Maybe you're more serious about military service than appearances indicate." The backhanded compliment represented significant progress from Patterson's usual dismissive attitude toward soldiers he considered inadequately prepared for real military challenges. Elena accepted the acknowledgement without comment, understanding that earning respect required consistent demonstration rather than verbal defense of her capabilities. Soldiers who'd bet against her completion began paying up their wagers while processing the unexpected reality of her strong performance. Elena gathered her equipment and prepared for the day's additional training activities, knowing that physical fitness represented only one aspect of proving herself worthy of their acceptance. The morning sun climbed higher above the mountain peaks, while Fort Carson transitioned from pre-dawn quiet to full operational activity. Elena's successful run had shifted some perceptions, but she understood that real acceptance required sustained excellence across every aspect of military service. Her father's voice carried from the officer training area, where he conducted morning briefings about standards and expectations for military personnel. Elena could hear familiar themes about dedication and commitment that had shaped her understanding of service long before she'd enlisted as an anonymous recruit. The weapons maintenance facility hummed with concentrated activity as Elena disassembled her assigned M4 carbine with methodical precision that caught the attention of nearby soldiers. Each component separated cleanly under her practiced hands while Sergeant Williams observed her technique with growing interest and confusion. "Where'd you learn to field strip that fast, Private?" Williams asked while timing Elena's process against military standards that typically required much longer for inexperienced personnel. Most recruits struggle with basic disassembly for months before achieving that level of efficiency. Elena continued her work without looking up from the weapon components spread across her cleaning mat. The familiar weight and balance of military firearms felt natural in her hands despite 6 months of pretending such knowledge came from basic training rather than years of instruction from her father's personal armorer. "Practice, Sergeant," Elena replied, simply while beginning the detailed cleaning process that would restore the weapon to optimal operational condition. She'd learned that minimal responses prevented follow-up questions that might reveal more expertise than her cover story could explain. Specialist Chong leaned closer to observe Elena's cleaning technique, which exceeded standard protocols in ways that suggested advanced training rather than recent instruction. "Look at how she's handling that barrel cleaning," he commented to his work partner. "That's competition-level technique right there." The observation drew additional attention from soldiers who'd begun questioning their initial assessments of Elena's military background and capabilities. Elena forced herself to slow down slightly, realizing that exceptional performance could raise suspicions about her true training history. "She's definitely had professional instruction somewhere," Corporal Martinez observed while comparing Elena's work to his own weapon maintenance routine. "Nobody picks up that level of skill from basic training videos. Maybe she's prior service from another branch or something." Elena's hands never paused in their systematic approach to each component, though she could feel multiple sets of eyes analyzing every movement for clues about her background. 6 months of careful mediocrity had been easier to maintain than the excellence that came naturally after years of demanding instruction. The facility door opened to admit General Vasquez and his aide, Lieutenant Colonel Brooks, conducting their weekly inspection of enlisted training facilities. Elena's father moved through the workspace with practiced authority while soldiers snapped to attention around their weapon stations. "Carry on with your maintenance procedures," the general commanded while beginning his systematic evaluation of training standards and facility cleanliness. Proper weapon care reflects discipline and military character. Sloppy maintenance indicates sloppy thinking in all areas of service. Elena kept her head down while continuing her cleaning process, though every word of her father's commentary registered with painful familiarity. 26 years of similar lectures had shaped her understanding of military excellence long before she'd enlisted under an assumed identity. General Vasquez paused near Elena's station, where her weapon components gleamed under the facility's fluorescent lighting. Each part had been cleaned to standards that exceeded regulation requirements, arranged with precision that suggested extensive training and natural aptitude. "This demonstrates proper attention to detail," the general observed while examining Elena's work without recognizing the daughter who'd learned these techniques during countless weekend training sessions. Too many enlisted personnel treat weapon maintenance as mere routine rather than essential military discipline. Elena's cleaning rod trembled almost imperceptibly in her grip as her father's approval washed over work she performed while hiding her identity from him. The irony of receiving his recognition while maintaining her cover created emotional tension that threatened her carefully constructed facade. "Private Vasquez has shown significant improvement in multiple areas recently," Sergeant Williams reported when the general's attention focused on Elena's station. "Initial assessments suggested limited potential, but recent performance indicates stronger military aptitude than originally apparent." The general nodded his acknowledgement while moving toward the next inspection point, leaving Elena to process the surreal experience of receiving professional recognition from her father while he remained unaware of her true identity. Williams returned to his supervisory duties with obvious satisfaction at the positive attention his training methods had received. "Your technique is seriously impressive," Chong commented once the inspection party had moved beyond hearing range. "Wherever you learn that level of skill, it's definitely paying off now. Maybe you should consider applying for advanced weapons specialist training." Elena reassembled her weapon with the same efficiency she'd demonstrated during disassembly, each component clicking into place with satisfying precision. The suggestion about specialist training represented exactly the type of recognition she'd hoped to earn through merit rather than family connections. The afternoon training schedule included marksmanship exercises that would test every aspect of their weapon's proficiency under field conditions. Elena gathered her equipment while processing the morning's unexpected praise from both her father and supervising NCOs who'd previously expressed doubt about her military potential. "She's definitely not what we initially thought," Martinez admitted to his companions while they prepared for range activities. "Still think there's something different about her background, but whatever it is, she's proving herself as a real soldier now." Elena appreciated the grudging acknowledgement, while understanding that complete acceptance required sustained excellence across all aspects of military service. The afternoon's shooting exercises would provide another opportunity to demonstrate capabilities that might surprise soldiers who still harbored doubts about her commitment. The walk to the firing range took them past administrative buildings where her father conducted afternoon briefings about training standards and performance expectations. Elena could hear familiar themes about dedication and precision that had shaped her approach to every military skill since childhood. Soldiers around her discussed the morning's weapon maintenance results while speculating about the afternoon's marksmanship challenges. Elena maintained her position among the group, while processing the strange satisfaction of earning recognition for skills her father had taught her during years of preparation she'd never imagined would lead to this moment. The range master's instructions echoed across the facility as soldiers took their assigned firing positions for qualification exercises that would determine their proficiency ratings. Elena settled into her shooting stance with muscle memory developed through thousands of practice rounds fired under her father's demanding supervision. Today's exercises would test accuracy, speed, and consistency under pressure that separated competent marksmen from exceptional shooters. Elena chambered her first round while soldiers around her made final adjustments to their equipment and breathing techniques. The crack of rifle fire echoed across the mountain valley as Elena settled into her shooting position at the 200-yard line, her breathing controlled and steady, while soldiers around her struggled with wind conditions that made accurate shooting significantly more challenging than indoor range exercises. "No way she scores expert on this course," Private Henderson muttered to his lane partner while adjusting his scope for the third time. "These conditions are brutal, and she's never shown any special shooting skills before today. Probably going to barely qualify if she's lucky." Elena ignored the commentary and focused on the fundamentals her father had drilled into her consciousness during countless weekend training sessions in these same mountains. Wind speed, elevation adjustment, breathing rhythm, and trigger control merged into muscle memory developed through years of demanding instruction. The range master's voice boomed across the firing line as shooters prepared for their qualification attempt. "You have 40 rounds to demonstrate proficiency at distances from 100 to 400 yards. Wind is gusting 15 to 20 miles per hour from the northwest. Adjust accordingly and make every shot count." Elena chambered her first round while observing wind indicators that showed constantly shifting patterns requiring immediate adaptation for each shot. The techniques her father had taught her for reading environmental conditions would be essential for success under these challenging circumstances. Targets appeared at varying distances as the qualification course began testing accuracy under pressure that separated competent marksmen from exceptional shooters. Elena's first shot struck center mass at 100 yards, followed immediately by precise hits at longer ranges that demonstrated consistency despite difficult wind conditions. "Holy shit," Chong whispered from the adjacent lane as Elena's shots grouped tightly around the target centers. "Where did that come from?" "She's shooting like she's been doing this professionally for years, not like someone who learned basic marksmanship 6 months ago." Elena maintained her shooting rhythm while soldiers around her began missing targets due to wind drift and elevation errors that revealed an experience with outdoor marksmanship under field conditions. Her shots continued finding their marks with precision that caught the attention of range supervisors. "Cease fire," the range master commanded as the first string concluded. Elena's targets showed groupings that exceeded expert qualification standards by significant margins. Her shots clustered within scoring zones that required exceptional skill and training to achieve consistently. Private Vasquez, front and center, Sergeant Major Patterson called out after reviewing the target scoring results. Elena approached the command position where Patterson held her target sheet, with an expression mixing surprise and suspicion about her unexpected marksmanship performance. "This is professional-level shooting," Patterson observed while examining shot groupings that suggested extensive training rather than basic military instruction. "Where exactly did you develop this level of proficiency, Private?" "These results indicate advanced training that goes well beyond standard enlisted preparation." Elena maintained eye contact while formulating a response that wouldn't reveal her true background. "Civilian shooting competitions, Sergeant Major. Started young and practiced regularly before enlisting." She hoped the partial truth would satisfy Patterson's curiosity without triggering deeper investigation. The explanation seemed plausible enough for Patterson to accept, though his expression suggested continued interest in Elena's background and training history. Other soldiers gathered around to examine her target results, their earlier predictions about her performance now appearing foolishly premature. "Damn, girl," Rodriguez commented while comparing Elena's groupings to his own scattered shots. "You made the rest of us look like amateurs out there. Maybe we should be asking you for shooting tips instead of assuming you need our help with basic military skills." Elena accepted the praise while understanding that exceptional performance brought unwanted attention that could threaten her carefully maintained cover. The afternoon's remaining exercises would require balancing continued excellence with avoiding suspicions about her extensive training background. The second shooting string tested rapid-fire accuracy at shorter distances that demanded quick target acquisition and smooth trigger control under time pressure. Elena's muscle memory took over as targets appeared and disappeared according to qualification timing requirements. Her shots continued finding their marks with mechanical precision that suggested thousands of practice rounds fired under similar conditions. Each trigger pull felt natural and controlled, producing groupings that exceeded military standards by margins that drew continued attention from supervisors and fellow soldiers. "Outstanding performance, Private," Lieutenant Colonel Brooks observed when a final ceasefire command ended the qualification exercise. Elena's father's aide reviewed her target scores with obvious interest in capabilities that had emerged without warning during routine training activities. Elena stood at attention while processing the recognition from an officer who regularly briefed her father about base training standards and personnel performance. The proximity to her carefully hidden family connections created tension that required constant vigilance to maintain her cover. "General Vasquez is going to be impressed when he sees these qualification results," Brooks continued while making notes on his tactical clipboard. "We don't often see this level of marksmanship excellence from enlisted personnel, especially those without prior military experience." The mention of her father's interest in her performance created conflicting emotions that Elena struggled to process while maintaining military bearing. 6 months of proving herself had been motivated by desire for his approval, but receiving it through unknown identity felt hollow rather than satisfying. Other soldiers began approaching Elena's position to examine her targets and request advice about improving their own shooting techniques. The social dynamic had shifted dramatically from morning skepticism to afternoon respect based on undeniable demonstration of exceptional military skills. "You got to teach me how you read that wind," Henderson requested while comparing his scattered shots to Elena's tight groupings. "I was all over the target while you were putting rounds exactly where you wanted them." That's some serious marksmanship talent right there. Elena found herself surrounded by soldiers who'd previously expressed doubt about her military capabilities, but now sought guidance from someone they recognized as possessing expertise beyond their own experience levels. The transformation felt surreal after months of enduring dismissive commentary about her potential. The range cleanup process provided time for reflection while soldiers processed the day's unexpected demonstration of hidden capabilities. Elena gathered her equipment methodically while conversations around her focused on reassessing assumptions about quiet enlisted personnel who might possess surprising skills. Range Master Thompson approached Elena's station with qualification paperwork that would officially document her exceptional performance for permanent military records. Private Vasquez, your scores today place you among the top marksmen on this base. Have you considered applying for sniper school or competitive shooting teams? The suggestion represented exactly the type of recognition Elena had hoped to earn through merit rather than family influence. Though accepting such opportunities might expose her true identity to scrutiny she couldn't afford. Military excellence brought its own complications when maintaining elaborate deceptions about background and training. The tactical operations briefing room buzzed with nervous energy as Elena took her assigned seat among 30 enlisted personnel selected for an advanced combat simulation exercise that would test their abilities under realistic battlefield conditions. Major Hendricks stood at the front podium reviewing mission parameters that promised to challenge every aspect of their military training. This exercise will separate real soldiers from those who merely wear the uniform, Major Hendricks announced while displaying terrain maps on the overhead projector. You'll be operating in teams of 6 across hostile territory with limited ammunition and communication equipment. Failure means your entire unit gets recycled through basic training. Elena studied the mission briefings while soldiers around her exchanged worried glances about the demanding requirements ahead. The exercise parameters included night operations, obstacle navigation, and tactical decision-making under pressure that would reveal leadership capabilities among personnel who'd never been tested in realistic combat scenarios. Private Vasquez will serve as team leader for Alpha Squad. Major Hendricks continued, his announcement drawing surprised murmurs from soldiers who'd expected more experienced personnel to receive leadership assignments. Her recent performance evaluations indicate exceptional potential for tactical responsibilities. The appointment caught Elena completely off guard, though she maintained military bearing while processing the unexpected recognition. 6 months of proving herself had apparently convinced supervising officers that she possessed leadership qualities suitable for advanced training opportunities. You sure about that assignment? Major Sergeant Williams questioned with obvious concern about placing inexperienced personnel in positions requiring veteran judgment and tactical expertise. Alpha Squad includes some of our most challenging soldiers who might not respond well to untested leadership. Elena felt multiple sets of eyes evaluating her reaction to the leadership challenge that represented both opportunity and significant risk to her carefully maintained cover. Leading experienced soldiers would require demonstrating capabilities that might reveal more extensive training than her background story could explain. The Major's decision stands, Hendricks replied firmly while continuing his mission briefing. Leadership emerges under pressure, and recent evaluations suggest Private Vasquez possesses qualities we need to develop further. Alpha Squad will operate under her tactical command throughout the exercise. Elena accepted the assignment with outward confidence while internally calculating the risks of increased visibility that came with leadership responsibilities. Her team members included soldiers who'd previously expressed skepticism about her military potential, but now faced following orders from someone they'd underestimated. Alpha Squad assembled around Elena's position as Major Hendricks distributed detailed mission packets containing objectives that would require coordinated teamwork and tactical planning under extreme time pressure. Elena reviewed the parameters while her team members processed their new command structure with obvious uncertainty. All right, listen up, Elena began while spreading the tactical map across their planning table. Our insertion point is here. Objectives are scattered across 12 kilometers of mountainous terrain, and we have 8 hours to complete all assigned tasks before extraction. She spoke with authority that surprised soldiers who'd grown accustomed to viewing her as competent but unremarkable among their peer group. Elena's tactical analysis revealed understanding of military operations that went beyond basic training instruction. How do you know so much about reading terrain maps? Specialist Torres asked while observing Elena's confident identification of key tactical features and potential routes through challenging landscape. Most of us are still learning basic navigation, but you're analyzing this like you've done mission planning before. Elena paused briefly before responding, realizing that exceptional tactical knowledge might raise questions about her background that could threaten her cover. Studied military history and tactics extensively before enlisting, she explained. Always been interested in strategic thinking and leadership principles. The explanation seemed to satisfy Torres, while other team members began contributing their observations about mission challenges and potential solutions. Elena guided their planning process, while drawing on tactical knowledge her father had shared during years of discussing military operations and strategy. The exercise began at sunset, with Alpha Squad moving through dense forest terrain that tested their navigation skills and ability to maintain stealth while covering significant distances under time pressure. Elena's leadership proved effective as she coordinated their movement through obstacles that stopped other teams completely. "She's actually really good at this," Private Kumar whispered to his partner while following Elena's tactical directions through a particularly challenging section of the course. "Maybe we misjudged her capabilities pretty severely over the past few months." Elena maintained point position while guiding her team through terrain that required constant adaptation to changing conditions and unexpected obstacles designed to test their problem-solving abilities. Her tactical decisions proved consistently effective, keeping Alpha Squad ahead of schedule while other teams struggled with basic navigation challenges. The first objective required coordinated assault on a fortified position defended by role-playing opponents equipped with simulation ammunition that would eliminate careless attackers. Elena analyzed the tactical situation while formulating an approach that would maximize their chances of success. Torres, Kumar, take flanking positions on the eastern approach, Elena commanded while positioning her remaining team members for supporting fire that would cover their advance. Martinez, Rodriguez, establish overwatch from that ridgeline and provide suppression on my signal. Her tactical coordination proved flawless as Alpha Squad executed a textbook assault that overwhelmed the defenders through superior positioning and timing. The objective fell quickly with minimal simulated casualties, demonstrating leadership capabilities that impressed observing instructors. Outstanding tactical execution. Captain Morrison radioed from the command observation post, where senior officers monitored team performance throughout the exercise. Alpha Squad's approach showed professional-level tactical thinking and coordination rarely seen during training exercises. Elena accepted the praise while maintaining focus on subsequent objectives that would test different aspects of their military capabilities. Her team members had transformed from skeptical followers into confident supporters who trusted her tactical judgment completely. The second objective required technical skills for disabling simulated explosive devices under time pressure that tested both individual expertise and team coordination. Elena's technical knowledge proved extensive as she guided her team through procedures that other squads failed to complete successfully. "Where did you learn bomb disposal techniques?" Rodriguez asked while observing Elena's confident handling of simulation devices that required specialized training to approach safely. "That's advanced military occupational specialty stuff, not basic enlisted knowledge." Elena focused on the technical procedures while formulating responses that wouldn't reveal the extensive, specialized training her father had arranged during her civilian years. "Read technical manuals extensively and practiced with simulation equipment," she replied. "Always believed in preparing for advanced responsibilities." The night operation continued through multiple objectives that tested every aspect of their military training, while Elena's leadership proved consistently effective. Alpha Squad maintained their lead position throughout the exercise, completing challenges that stopped other teams and demonstrating capabilities that exceeded expectations for their experience level. The post-exercise debrief session crackled with energy as Alpha Squad received recognition for their outstanding performance during the night tactical operation. Elena stood at attention with her team members while Major Hendricks reviewed results that had exceeded expectations for enlisted personnel at their experience level. Alpha Squad completed all objectives 43 minutes ahead of the nearest competitor, Hendricks announced to the assembled soldiers who'd participated in the challenging exercise. Their tactical coordination and technical execution demonstrated professional-level capabilities rarely seen during training operations. Elena maintained military bearing while processing praise that represented the recognition she'd sought since enlisting 6 months earlier. Her team members exchanged satisfied glances, their earlier skepticism about her leadership completely transformed by the night's successful mission completion. Private Vasquez displayed exceptional tactical judgment throughout the operation. Hendricks continued while reviewing detailed performance evaluations. Her leadership decisions were consistently sound, and her technical knowledge exceeded standard expectations for personnel at her grade level. The formal recognition felt surreal after months of enduring dismissive commentary about her military potential. Elena had proven herself capable of leading experienced soldiers through demanding challenges that tested every aspect of their training and capabilities. "Where exactly did you develop those tactical skills?" Sergeant Williams asked during the informal discussion period that followed the official debrief. "Your performance last night suggested advanced military education that goes beyond anything we provide during basic training programs." Elena formulated her response carefully, understanding that exceptional performance brought scrutiny that could threaten her carefully maintained cover identity. Extensive study of military tactics and strategy, combined with practical application during civilian training programs, she replied. Always believed in thorough preparation for leadership responsibilities. The explanation satisfied Williams while other soldiers gathered around Elena's position to discuss specific tactical decisions that had contributed to their mission success. The social dynamic had shifted completely from initial skepticism to genuine respect for demonstrated capabilities. The afternoon brought Elena to the Base Communications Center, where she'd been assigned temporary duty supporting administrative operations that required attention to detail and technical competence. The work provided respite from the physical demands of field training while testing different aspects of her military knowledge. Captain Sarah Kellerman supervised the communications section with standards that rivaled Elena's father's expectations for precision and efficiency. Elena appreciated working under someone who valued excellence without making allowances for inexperience or background factors. "Your technical reports are exceptionally well-written," Captain Kellerman observed while reviewing Elena's work on equipment maintenance documentation. The level of detail and professional terminology suggests prior experience with military communication systems. Elena accepted the compliment, while understanding that consistent excellence in multiple specialties might raise questions about her background that could prove dangerous. 6 months of balanced performance had been easier to maintain than the natural competence that emerged under challenging conditions. The Communications Center provided vantage points for observing base operations that included her father's regular inspection tours of training facilities. Elena could see General Vasquez moving through administrative areas with his characteristic attention to detail and high expectations for subordinate performance. These enlisted personnel need constant supervision to maintain adequate standards. The general's voice carried through open windows as he discussed training results with his staff officers. Too many assume that showing up constitutes sufficient effort rather than the excellence required for real military service. Elena's fingers paused briefly on her keyboard as her father's familiar criticism reached her workstation. 6 months of proving herself among the enlisted ranks had provided perspective on the gap between officer expectations and the reality of dedicated soldiers working to meet demanding standards. Captain Kellerman noticed Elena's reaction to the general's commentary. "Something wrong, Private? You seem distracted by the conversation outside." Elena shook her head and returned to her technical documentation with renewed focus on maintaining professional standards. The afternoon's assignment included monitoring radio communications that provided insight into base-wide operations and training activities. Elena's technical competence with communications equipment impressed supervisors who'd expected basic proficiency rather than the advanced skills she demonstrated consistently. Private Vasquez shows exceptional aptitude for communications technology, Captain Kellerman reported during her daily briefing with Lieutenant Colonel Brooks. Her technical knowledge and attention to detail suggest potential for advanced training in specialized communications fields. Elena overhead the positive assessment while maintaining focus on her assigned duties. Recognition from officers who worked closely with her father created both satisfaction and anxiety about increased visibility that might threaten her cover identity. The late afternoon brought news that Alpha Squad had been selected for additional advanced training exercises based on their exceptional performance during the night tactical operation. Elena would continue serving as team leader for increasingly challenging missions that tested leadership capabilities under realistic combat conditions. "Looks like you've really proven yourself," Torres commented while reviewing the training schedule that would push their skills beyond standard enlisted expectations. 6 months ago, most of us figured you'd wash out before completing basic requirements. Now you're leading us through exercises that challenge veteran soldiers. Elena appreciated the acknowledgement while understanding that continued success brought responsibilities that might expose her true background to scrutiny she couldn't afford. Each achievement created new challenges for maintaining the balance between excellence and anonymity. The evening formation brought Elena face-to-face with her father during his weekly inspection of enlisted training results. General Vasquez moved through the assembled soldiers with practiced authority while reviewing performance reports that included Elena's recent achievements. "Outstanding tactical exercise results this week," the general announced to the formation. Several enlisted personnel demonstrated leadership potential that merits recognition and continued development. Real soldiers emerge under pressure, and this week's exercises identified individuals with exceptional military character. Elena stood at attention while her father delivered praise that included her achievements without recognizing her identity. The moment felt both satisfying and hollow, representing recognition earned through merit while maintaining the deception that prevented genuine connection. Private Vasquez, front and center, Sergeant Major Patterson commanded. Elena approached the command position where her father waited with commendation paperwork that would officially recognize her tactical leadership during the exercise. "Exceptional performance, Private," General Vasquez stated while reviewing Elena's service record without recognizing his daughter, standing 3 feet away. "Your leadership abilities and technical competence represent exactly what we expect from dedicated military personnel." Elena accepted the commendation while maintaining eye contact with her father, who remained unaware of her true identity. 26 years of seeking his approval had led to this moment of recognition earned through her own efforts rather than family connections. "Continue developing these leadership capabilities," the general continued. "The military needs soldiers who exceed minimum standards and inspire others to achieve excellence. Your recent performance indicates significant potential for advanced responsibilities and specialized training opportunities." The base emergency alarm shattered the pre-dawn quiet as soldiers scrambled from their barracks toward assembly areas where urgent briefings awaited personnel selected for immediate deployment to a simulated crisis scenario. Elena grabbed her gear while adrenaline surged through her system in response to training that felt increasingly realistic with each passing exercise. "This is not a drill," Major Hendricks announced over the base-wide communication system. "All personnel assigned to Crisis Response Team Alpha report to Briefing Room 7 immediately. Full combat equipment required for immediate deployment to hostile territory." Elena joined the stream of soldiers rushing toward the briefing facility, where emergency lighting cast harsh shadows across faces tense with anticipation about the challenging scenario ahead. The realistic training exercises had escalated significantly since her recent tactical leadership success. Alpha Squad assembled quickly around Elena's position as soldiers who'd learned to trust her tactical judgment prepared for whatever mission parameters awaited their review. The team dynamics had transformed completely from initial skepticism to confident reliance on her leadership capabilities. Intelligence reports indicate enemy forces have captured a strategic communications facility. Major Hendricks briefed while displaying satellite imagery of mountainous terrain that would challenge every aspect of their training. "Your mission is immediate tactical assault and facility recovery," within 6 hours of insertion. Elena studied the mission parameters while formulating approaches that would maximize their chances of success against opposition specifically designed to test advanced military capabilities. The scenario required coordination between multiple squads operating across hostile territory under realistic combat conditions. Private Vasquez will serve as overall tactical coordinator for this operation, Hendricks announced, elevating Elena to command responsibilities that surprised even soldiers who'd witnessed her recent performance improvements. Radio call sign Falcon 1. All squad leaders report directly to her tactical command. The appointment represented significant recognition that also brought dangerous visibility to someone maintaining elaborate deceptions about her background and training. Elena accepted the responsibility while calculating risks that came with commanding experienced NCOs who might question her authority. "Roger, sir," Elena responded with confidence that masked her internal concerns about increased scrutiny from supervising officers. Alpha through Delta squads prepared for coordinated assault operations under her tactical direction. The briefing room buzzed with conversation as soldiers processed the unexpected command structure that placed relatively inexperienced personnel in positions typically reserved for seasoned veterans. Elena could hear whispered questions about her qualifications for such significant tactical responsibilities. "She better know what she's doing," Sergeant Collins muttered to his squad members while reviewing mission parameters that would challenge experienced military leaders. Coordinating 4 squads through hostile territory requires tactical expertise that most enlisted personnel don't possess. Elena overheard the skeptical commentary while maintaining focus on mission planning that would require every aspect of her extensive but carefully hidden military education. Her father's years of tactical instruction would prove essential for success under these demanding conditions. The helicopter insertion proceeded through darkness that provided concealment while increasing navigation challenges across terrain specifically chosen to test their tactical capabilities. Elena coordinated radio communications between squads while maintaining situational awareness that impressed pilots and supervising officers. Falcon 1 demonstrates excellent command presence. Captain Morrison radioed from the observation aircraft that monitored their tactical progression through the exercise scenario. Her coordination and decision-making indicate advanced leadership training that exceeds expectations for enlisted personnel. Elena acknowledged the assessment while maintaining focus on tactical challenges that required immediate adaptation to changing conditions and unexpected obstacles designed to test their problem-solving abilities under pressure. The assault phase tested every aspect of their training as Elena coordinated simultaneous attacks from multiple directions that overwhelmed simulated defenders through superior tactics and timing. Her command decisions proved consistently effective throughout the complex operation. "Outstanding tactical execution," Torres commented over the squad radio network as their coordinated assault achieved objectives ahead of projected timelines. "Your command coordination made that look easy, but I know it required serious tactical knowledge to pull off successfully." Elena appreciated the recognition while understanding that exceptional performance brought scrutiny that could threaten her carefully maintained cover identity. Each success created new expectations and responsibilities that made anonymity increasingly difficult to preserve. The facility recovery phase required technical expertise for restoring communications equipment that had been sabotaged by role-playing opponents. Elena's technical knowledge proved extensive as she guided repair operations that other command personnel struggled to coordinate effectively. "Where did you learn communications technology repair procedures?" Specialist Garcia asked while observing Elena's confident direction of technical operations that required specialized training to approach safely. "That's advanced technical expertise, not basic enlisted knowledge." Elena focused on the repair coordination while formulating responses that wouldn't reveal her extensive specialized education. "Technical manuals and practical application during civilian training programs," she replied. "Always believed in developing multiple military skill sets." The mission concluded with complete success as all objectives were achieved within time parameters that challenged experienced military units. Elena's tactical coordination had proven exceptional throughout the demanding exercise that tested leadership capabilities under realistic combat pressure. Mission accomplished, Major Hendricks announced as the exercise concluded with results that exceeded expectations for enlisted personnel operating under simulated combat conditions. Tactical coordination was professional level throughout the operation. Elena accepted the praise while processing the satisfaction of leading experienced soldiers through challenges that had tested every aspect of her military knowledge and leadership capabilities. The recognition felt earned through demonstrated competence rather than family connections. The post-mission debrief revealed performance evaluations that would significantly impact her military career trajectory. Elena had proven herself capable of tactical responsibilities that opened opportunities for advanced training and specialized assignments. Private Vasquez demonstrated exceptional command capabilities throughout this exercise, Captain Morrison reported during the formal assessment session. Her tactical knowledge and leadership effectiveness suggest potential for immediate promotion and advanced military education opportunities. The recommendations represented exactly the recognition Elena had sought since enlisting 6 months earlier. Though accepting such opportunities might expose her true identity to scrutiny she couldn't afford. Military excellence brought complications when maintaining elaborate deceptions about background and family connections. Outstanding work today. Sergeant Williams congratulated Elena during the informal discussion period that followed official debriefings. Your tactical coordination impressed everyone who observed this exercise. You've definitely proven yourself as serious military leadership material. Elena appreciated the acknowledgement, while understanding that continued success would bring increased visibility that might threaten the careful balance she'd maintained between excellence and anonymity throughout her enlisted service. The morning staff meeting convened in the base conference room, where Elena's recent performance had become a topic of discussion among senior officers who rarely concerned themselves with individual enlisted personnel achievements. She remained unaware that her tactical success had elevated her profile to levels that threatened the anonymity she'd carefully maintained. Private Vasquez has demonstrated capabilities that warrant immediate consideration for officer candidate school. Lieutenant Colonel Brooks reported while reviewing performance evaluations that painted a picture of exceptional military potential. Her tactical leadership and technical expertise exceed standards typically seen among enlisted personnel. General Vasquez listened to the assessment while reviewing personnel files that included detailed documentation of recent achievements by soldiers under his command. Elena's record showed consistent excellence across multiple military specialties that had caught the attention of supervising officers. These performance indicators suggest prior military experience or advanced civilian training. The general observed while studying test scores and exercise results that exceeded normal expectations for someone with Elena's stated background. Perhaps we should conduct additional background verification before proceeding with advanced training recommendations. Elena worked through her morning duties in the communications center, unaware that her father was reviewing her service record with growing interest in capabilities that seemed inconsistent with her documented preparation for military service. Captain Kellerman assigned Elena to coordinate communication support for a visiting inspection team that would evaluate base readiness across multiple operational areas. The assignment required interface with senior officers who might scrutinize her background more closely than previous supervisors. The inspection team arrived in multiple vehicles that disgorged colonels and generals from regional command headquarters. Elena recognized several officers from formal dinners she'd attended as her father's daughter, though none of them would associate the quiet enlisted woman with the general's family. Establishing communication protocol for the inspection tour, Elena radioed to various base sections while coordinating coverage that would ensure seamless connectivity throughout the evaluation process. Her professional competence impressed visiting officers who noted her efficiency. That communications coordinator demonstrates exceptional technical knowledge, Colonel Martinez observed to his inspection partner while monitoring Elena's coordination of complex communications requirements. Her procedural expertise suggests advanced training that goes beyond standard enlisted preparation. Elena continued her professional duties while visitors evaluated base operations that included her father's leadership effectiveness and training program results. The irony of supporting an inspection that would assess her father's performance created emotional complexity she struggled to process. The afternoon brought Elena to the Base Tactical Operations Center, where she'd been assigned to assist with logistics coordination for upcoming training exercises. The work required interaction with planning officers who might recognize inconsistencies in her background story. Major Richardson supervised the operations center with attention to detail that rivaled Elena's father's standards for precision and military efficiency. Elena appreciated working under demanding supervision that challenged her capabilities without making allowances for inexperience. Your logistical analysis demonstrates advanced understanding of military operations planning, Major Richardson observed while reviewing Elena's work on supply chain coordination for complex training scenarios. This level of tactical thinking typically requires specialized education and experience. Elena accepted the compliment while calculating risks associated with continued exceptional performance that drew attention from officers connected to her father's command structure. Each achievement made anonymity more difficult to maintain. The Operations Center provided Elena with access to training schedules that included her father's participation in tactical planning sessions. She could observe his professional demeanor while maintaining careful distance that prevented recognition during routine interactions. General Vasquez entered the Operations Center for his weekly review of training coordination and resource allocation. Elena maintained focus on her assigned duties while her father moved through the facility with characteristic authority and attention to operational details. These logistics reports show exceptional attention to detail. The general commented while reviewing planning documents that included Elena's analytical work. Whoever prepared this coordination analysis demonstrates professional-level military planning capabilities. Elena's heart rate accelerated as her father praised work she'd completed while standing 15 feet away from him. The recognition felt both satisfying and terrifying, representing the approval she'd always sought while maintaining deceptions that prevented genuine acknowledgement. Private Vasquez prepared those coordination reports. Major Richardson informed the general while indicating Elena's position at a nearby workstation. She's demonstrated consistent excellence across multiple assignments since joining my operations team. General Vasquez glanced toward Elena's workstation, where she maintained professional focus on computer terminals while processing the surreal experience of receiving her father's indirect praise for work completed under assumed identity. Excellent work, Private, the general stated without recognizing his daughter, who stood at attention 3 feet away. This type of analytical thinking represents exactly what we need from dedicated enlisted personnel who take initiative beyond minimum requirements. Elena accepted the praise while maintaining eye contact with her father, who remained completely unaware of her true identity. The moment represented culmination of months spent proving herself worthy of recognition he'd never given freely during their family relationship. The general's inspection continued through other sections while Elena processed the emotional impact of receiving professional validation from someone who'd never expressed pride in her civilian achievements. Military excellence had finally earned the approval she'd sought throughout her life. Your technical competence and analytical capabilities suggest potential for advanced military education. Major Richardson continued after the general's departure. Have you considered applying for specialized training programs that would develop these talents further? Elena appreciated the recognition while understanding that accepting advanced training opportunities might expose her background to scrutiny that could reveal her family connections. Military success created complications when maintaining elaborate deceptions about identity and preparation. The late afternoon brought Elena to equipment maintenance duties that provided solitude for processing the day's unexpected recognition from her father. Each achievement brought her closer to the acknowledgement she'd always wanted while making discovery increasingly dangerous. Evening formation included announcements about personnel selected for advanced training opportunities based on recent performance evaluations. Elena listened carefully while understanding that her name might appear on lists that would elevate her visibility beyond safe levels. Private Vasquez will report to Personnel Administration tomorrow for advanced training consideration, Sergeant Major Patterson announced during the formation briefing. Recent performance evaluations indicate exceptional potential for specialized military education and leadership development. Elena accepted the assignment while calculating risks associated with increased scrutiny that came with recognition at levels that might threaten her carefully maintained cover identity. 6 months of proving herself had succeeded beyond her expectations, while creating new challenges for maintaining anonymity. The walk back to barracks took her past officer housing, where her father's quarters reminded her of the family relationship she'd abandoned to prove herself through independent achievement. Tomorrow would bring new opportunities and dangers as her military excellence attracted attention that might expose everything she'd worked to hide. The Personnel Administration office buzzed with activity as Elena reported for her advanced training evaluation appointment that could determine her military career trajectory while potentially exposing the carefully guarded secrets that had protected her identity for 6 months of enlisted service. Master Sergeant Patricia Coleman reviewed Elena's service record with obvious interest in performance indicators that suggested capabilities beyond typical enlisted preparation. The evaluation process would include detailed background verification that Elena feared might reveal family connections she'd worked to hide. Your test scores and exercise performance indicate exceptional military aptitude, Coleman observed while comparing Elena's results to standards typically achieved by candidates with extensive prior training. These capabilities suggest background preparation that goes beyond what you've documented in your service record. Elena maintained professional composure while formulating responses that wouldn't reveal the extensive military education her father had provided during years of preparation she'd never imagined would lead to this moment of scrutiny and potential discovery. Civilian training programs and extensive personal study, Elena replied carefully. Always believed in thorough preparation for military responsibilities and leadership opportunities. Her explanation felt inadequate for capabilities that clearly exceeded normal expectations. Coleman continued her review while accessing computer systems that contained comprehensive background information about every aspect of Elena's documented history. The verification process threatened to expose inconsistencies that could unravel her entire cover story. Your emergency contact information lists no family members, Coleman noted while reviewing administrative records that Elena had carefully constructed to avoid connections with her father's identity. Most soldiers maintain contact with relatives who could provide additional background verification. Elena had anticipated questions about her isolated family status, though explaining the absence of normal family connections required careful navigation of truth and deception. Estranged from family due to personal disagreements about military service, she explained. Preferred to establish independent military career without family influence. The explanation seemed plausible enough for Coleman to accept while continuing her evaluation of qualifications that would determine Elena's eligibility for advanced training programs. Each question brought potential exposure closer while testing her ability to maintain elaborate deceptions. The psychological evaluation portion included detailed questioning about motivation and career objectives that required honest responses while avoiding revelation of her true background and family connections. Elena answered carefully while maintaining consistency with her documented service history. What specific military career goals motivate your exceptional performance? Coleman asked while reviewing psychological assessment results that indicated strong leadership potential and advanced tactical thinking capabilities. Your achievements suggest ambitions beyond typical enlisted service expectations. Elena considered her response while understanding that expressing appropriate ambition was essential for advanced training consideration, while avoiding suspicion about her extensive preparation and family military background. Long-term goal is tactical leadership specialization with potential for commissioned service, she replied. The assessment continued through technical evaluations that tested her knowledge across multiple military specialties, where she demonstrated exceptional competence. Elena struggled to balance honest demonstration of capabilities with maintaining her cover story about civilian preparation. Your technical knowledge in communications, logistics, and tactical operations exceeds standards for enlisted personnel, Coleman observed while reviewing test results that painted a picture of comprehensive military education. This breadth of expertise typically requires years of specialized training and experience. Elena felt increasing pressure as each evaluation revealed capabilities that might expose her background to scrutiny she couldn't survive. The assessment process had become more dangerous than she'd anticipated when accepting recommendations for advanced training consideration. The afternoon brought Elena to medical evaluation requirements that included detailed physical examination and medical history review. She worried that distinctive scars or physical indicators might reveal information about her background that could compromise her carefully maintained identity. Dr. Captain Jennifer Walsh conducted the medical examination with professional thoroughness that included questions about previous injuries and medical treatment that might indicate military or specialized training background. Elena answered honestly, while hoping her medical history wouldn't reveal family connections. You have several scars consistent with advanced tactical training injuries, Walsh observed, while documenting physical indicators that suggested extensive preparation beyond typical civilian experience. These injury patterns typically result from specialized military instruction and combat training exercises. Elena explained the scars as results of civilian martial arts and outdoor recreation activities, though she could see skepticism in the doctor's expression as she documented findings that didn't align perfectly with Elena's stated background. The evaluation process stretched through the entire day as various specialists assessed different aspects of Elena's capabilities and background. Each interview brought potential exposure, while testing her ability to maintain deceptions that had protected her identity throughout 6 months of enlisted service. Late afternoon brought Elena to the final evaluation phase conducted by Lieutenant Colonel Brooks, her father's aide who'd observed her performance during recent exercises. Brooks represented the most dangerous interview because of his direct connection to her father's command structure. Your performance record is quite impressive, Private Vasquez, Brooks began while reviewing comprehensive documentation of Elena's achievements since enlisting. General Vasquez has specifically noted your tactical capabilities and leadership potential during recent training exercises. Elena's heart rate accelerated at the mention of her father's attention to her performance. The recognition she'd sought had become a liability that threatened exposure through increased scrutiny from officers connected to her family. The general believes you possess qualities suitable for immediate officer candidate school consideration. Brooks continued, while reviewing recommendations that would elevate Elena to visibility levels that made discovery almost inevitable. Your capabilities suggest potential for rapid advancement through commission ranks. Elena processed the surreal situation of receiving her father's recommendation for advancement while maintaining the deception that prevented him from recognizing her true identity. The opportunity represented everything she'd worked to achieve while threatening everything she'd struggled to protect. Your background verification has raised some questions about the source of your extensive military knowledge, Brooks observed while accessing files that contained detailed investigation results. Our security office would like additional information about your civilian training and preparation. Elena realized that continued deception might prove impossible as investigation intensified around inconsistencies in her background story. The evaluation process had revealed capabilities that exceeded her ability to explain through documented civilian preparation. I'd like you to report to Security Office Building 7 tomorrow morning for additional background verification, Brooks instructed while making notes on evaluation paperwork that would determine Elena's immediate future. Colonel Harrison will conduct detailed review of your preparation and qualifications. Elena accepted the assignment while understanding that tomorrow would likely bring exposure of her true identity and end of her 6-month mission to prove herself through independent achievement. The recognition she'd earned had made continued anonymity impossible to maintain. The evening before her security investigation appointment weighed heavily on Elena, as she moved through mess hall duty that had become routine during 6 months of proving herself among enlisted personnel who no longer questioned her dedication or capabilities. Tomorrow would likely end the elaborate deception that had allowed her to earn recognition through merit rather than family connections. She's definitely hiding something major about her background, Specialist Chun commented to his dinner companion while observing Elena's methodical approach to cleaning duties. Nobody develops that level of tactical knowledge without serious military training somewhere. Security investigation tomorrow is going to reveal whatever she's been covering up. Elena continued her work while soldiers around her speculated about the mysterious background that would soon be exposed through detailed investigation. 6 months of careful deception had created a persona that couldn't withstand the scrutiny her success had attracted. The mess hall filled with evening meal activity as hundreds of soldiers gathered for dinner and conversation that provided social connection after demanding training schedules. Elena served food portions with the same attention to detail that had characterized every aspect of her enlisted service. Colonel Harrison is thorough with background investigations, Torres mentioned while passing through Elena's serving line. Whatever inconsistencies they've found in your story, he'll get to the truth tomorrow. Hope you're prepared for some difficult questions about your preparation and training. Elena acknowledged the warning while understanding that preparation couldn't help her navigate questions designed to expose deceptions she'd maintained through careful planning and constant vigilance. Tomorrow would test whether she could protect her identity under direct interrogation. The kitchen cleanup process provided Elena with solitude for processing the emotional complexity of her situation as 6 months of independent achievement approached its inevitable conclusion. She'd proven herself worthy of the respect she'd always sought from her father while maintaining the distance that made genuine recognition impossible. Staff Sergeant Morrison approached Elena's cleaning station with obvious concern about the investigation that would determine her immediate future. "You've been a good soldier, Vasquez. Whatever you're hiding, I hope it doesn't destroy the reputation you've earned here. You've proven yourself to everyone who doubted your capabilities." Elena appreciated the support while understanding that tomorrow's revelation would transform relationships she'd built through consistent demonstration of military excellence. The soldiers who'd learned to respect her competence would discover that their assessment had been based on incomplete information. The late evening brought Elena to the Base Communications Center for her final duty assignment before the security investigation that would end her enlisted service. She'd volunteered for night shift work that provided time for reflection about the journey that had brought her to this moment of truth. Captain Kellerman supervised the overnight operations with reduced staffing that allowed for informal conversation about Elena's situation and the investigation that had captured attention throughout the enlisted community. Elena appreciated working under someone who valued professional competence above background factors. "Your tactical knowledge and technical expertise have impressed everyone who's worked with you," Kellerman observed while reviewing Elena's service record and performance evaluations. "Whatever the investigation reveals tomorrow, you've earned genuine respect through your achievements here." Elena focused on her communications duties while processing the validation from officers who'd witnessed her development from questioned recruit to recognized leader. The achievement felt significant despite the deception that had made it possible. The midnight hour brought communication traffic that included her father's office coordinating late-night training exercises with regional command headquarters. Elena monitored radio transmissions while maintaining professional distance from family connections that remained hidden beneath her enlisted identity. "Base communications from General Vasquez's office," Elena announced while routing encrypted messages through secure channels that connected Fort Carson with higher command structures. The routine coordination reminded her of the military environment that had shaped her understanding of service and excellence. Her father's voice occasionally broke through radio static as he coordinated complex training operations that tested multiple units across challenging scenarios. Elena listened to familiar tone and terminology while maintaining the professional detachment that had protected her identity throughout 6 months of careful deception. Outstanding communication support tonight. Major Richardson radioed from the Tactical Operations Center, where Elena's coordination had facilitated seamless connectivity across base operations. Your technical competence and attention to detail make our job significantly easier. Elena accepted the praise while understanding that tomorrow's investigation would likely reveal the extensive technical education her father had provided during years of preparation for military service. Each achievement had been built on foundation he'd created while remaining unaware of her enlisted status. The pre-dawn hours brought Elena to equipment maintenance tasks that provided familiar rhythm of productive work while processing anticipation about the security investigation that would determine her future. 6 months of proving herself had succeeded beyond her expectations while creating complications she hadn't anticipated. Sunrise approached through communications center windows as Elena completed her final overnight shift before the appointment that would expose her true identity to investigation designed to verify background information she'd carefully constructed to avoid family connections. Morning formation would bring announcement of Elena's security investigation appointment to soldiers who'd learned to respect her capabilities while remaining curious about background that had produced such exceptional military performance. Elena prepared for the day that would end her elaborate mission. Report to Security Office Building 7 at 0800. Sergeant Major Patterson had instructed during the previous evening's formation. Colonel Harrison will conduct comprehensive background verification to resolve questions about your preparation and qualifications. Elena gathered her equipment methodically while understanding that morning would bring exposure of family connections she'd hidden through careful planning and constant vigilance. The investigation represented both culmination of her success and end of the independence she'd achieved through enlisted service. The walk to Security Office Building 7 took her past training areas where she'd proven herself worthy of recognition from soldiers who'd initially doubted her dedication and capabilities. 6 months of achievement had earned respect that felt genuine despite the deception that had made it possible. Colonel Harrison waited in Investigation Room 3 with comprehensive files containing every aspect of Elena's documented background and service record. The interview would test her ability to maintain deceptions under direct questioning designed to expose truth about her extensive military preparation. "Good morning, Private Vasquez," Harrison began while reviewing documentation that included detailed analysis of inconsistencies between her stated background and demonstrated capabilities. "We have some questions about the source of your exceptional military knowledge and tactical expertise." Elena took her assigned seat, while understanding that the next hour would likely determine whether she could protect her identity or face exposure that would end 6 months of independent achievement through recognition of family connections she'd worked to avoid. The security investigation with Colonel Harrison had concluded with Elena's worst fears realized, as comprehensive background verification revealed inconsistencies that led to discovery of her true identity as General Vasquez's daughter. The afternoon brought her to the mess hall for what might be her final duty assignment before facing consequences of 6 months of elaborate deception. Elena moved through food service preparation with mechanical efficiency while processing the emotional weight of impending exposure to soldiers who'd learned to respect her achievements without knowing about family connections that had shaped her military preparation. The investigation had unraveled carefully constructed lies that protected her independent identity. "Harrison's going to brief the general about her real identity this afternoon," Specialist Rodriguez whispered to his companion while observing Elena's subdued demeanor during routine duties. "Wonder how Daddy's going to react when he finds out his little princess has been playing soldier with the enlisted ranks." Elena forced herself to maintain professional composure while soldiers speculated about confrontation that would end her mission to prove herself worthy of recognition through merit rather than family influence. 6 months of achievement felt hollow as discovery approached through investigation she couldn't prevent. The lunch preparation process required Elena to coordinate with kitchen staff who'd witnessed her transformation from questioned recruit to acknowledged leader during months of consistent excellence. Their support meant more than they could understand as she faced revelation that would change everything. Whatever happens with your family situation, you've earned our respect through your work here, Staff Sergeant Morrison commented while reviewing Elena's final duty assignments. Your tactical leadership and dedication proved you belong among real soldiers regardless of your background. Elena appreciated the validation, while understanding that afternoon would bring family confrontation she'd avoided through careful planning and constant vigilance. Her father's reaction to discovering her enlisted service would determine whether 6 months of independence had accomplished anything meaningful. The lunch service period brought steady stream of soldiers who'd learned to appreciate Elena's competence and reliability during routine interactions that had built foundation for mutual respect. Elena served food portions while preparing emotionally for exposure that would transform every relationship she developed. Midday approached with inevitable timing as Colonel Harrison completed his briefing preparation for General Vasquez about Elena's true identity and 6 months of deception that had allowed her to serve among enlisted personnel without recognition. The confrontation would test whether her achievements could withstand revelation of family connections. Elena cleaned tables with methodical attention while observing normal mess hall activity that might soon be disrupted by family drama she'd created through elaborate mission to prove herself independently. Other soldiers continued routine conversations while remaining unaware of impending revelation. General Vasquez entered the mess hall for his weekly inspection tour with characteristic authority and attention to operational details. Elena maintained focus on cleaning duties while her father moved through facility, conducting standard evaluation that would be interrupted by Harrison's briefing about her identity. Colonel Harrison approached the general's position with files containing comprehensive investigation results that would expose Elena's deception within minutes. Elena could see their conversation beginning while she continued routine work that might be her final act as anonymous enlisted personnel. The confrontation she dreaded for 6 months began as Harrison presented evidence of her true identity to her father, who processed information with obvious shock and confusion about discovery that his daughter had enlisted under assumed name. Elena watched from across the mess hall while maintaining her cleaning routine. General Vasquez's aluminum lunch tray slipped from suddenly nerveless fingers and crashed onto the polished floor with metallic clanging that echoed through the facility, creating silence as hundreds of soldiers turned toward commotion that marked the end of Elena's carefully maintained deception. The general stood frozen while staring at Elena across the mess hall distance that had separated them for 6 months of her enlisted service. His expression showed mixture of shock, pride, and confusion as he processed Harrison's revelation about achievements earned by daughter he hadn't recognized among his enlisted personnel. Elena straightened slowly while meeting her father's eyes across space that suddenly felt charged with electrical tension of family recognition. 6 months of proving herself had led to this moment of truth that would determine whether her achievements could survive exposure of family connections. "That's Private Vasquez," Torres whispered in amazement as understanding dawned among soldiers who began connecting obvious family resemblance with General Vasquez's shocked expression. "Holy shit, she's been the general's daughter this entire time. No wonder she had advanced tactical knowledge." The mess hall buzzed with excited conversation as soldiers processed revelation that explained Elena's exceptional capabilities while validating respect they developed for her competence and dedication. Elena remained motionless while her father approached slowly with expression showing pride, mixed with paternal concern. "Elena," General Vasquez said quietly when he reached her position. His voice carried 26 years of complicated family history compressed in a single word that acknowledged both her identity and achievement. You've proven yourself beyond anything I ever imagined possible. Elena maintained military bearing while processing emotional complexity of receiving recognition she'd always sought through circumstances she'd never anticipated. I wanted to earn your respect through my own achievements, sir, not because of family connections or expectations about my potential. The general nodded slowly, while understanding motivation that had driven daughter to extreme measures for proving herself worthy of acknowledgement he'd withheld throughout their relationship. You succeeded completely, he replied. Your tactical leadership and military excellence impressed every officer who observed your performance. If this story moved you, share your thoughts about your favorite moment, or tell us about someone you know who showed hidden strength when nobody expected it. Soldiers throughout the mess hall watched family reunion that transformed their understanding of colleague they'd learned to respect through consistent demonstration of military competence. Elena had achieved recognition through merit while maintaining identity that made genuine acknowledgement possible. Your achievement represents everything we hope to develop in military personnel, General Vasquez continued, while addressing both daughter and exemplary soldier who'd exceeded every expectation through determination and capability. You've earned advancement through demonstrated excellence rather than family influence. Elena accepted validation that felt meaningful because it acknowledged capabilities she'd proven through independent effort rather than connections she'd hidden through elaborate deception. 6 months of enlisted service had accomplished mission she'd never expected to complete successfully. The afternoon brought Elena to administrative processing that would transition her from enlisted service to officer training she'd earned through exceptional performance. Soldiers who'd witnessed her transformation expressed genuine pride in colleague who'd proven herself worthy of recognition through consistent achievement. She's definitely earned this advancement, Sergeant Williams commented while reviewing Elena's service record and performance evaluations. Family connections don't create tactical expertise or leadership capabilities she demonstrated throughout these 6 months. Elena processed discharge paperwork while understanding that her mission had succeeded beyond original objectives as she'd earned respect from father and fellow soldiers through demonstrated competence rather than inherited expectations or family influence that had previously shaped their relationship. The transformation felt complete as Elena prepared for officer training that would build on foundation she'd established through enlisted service that proved her dedication to military excellence without relying on family connections for advancement or recognition.